Hello and welcome back to another episode of this podcast. It's Spurs Thoughts podcast. We've got a new logo. We hope you like it. Seems we liked it. We thought it was good, simple, plain, but looked nice.
Gets the point across
Uh,
as well.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
We're going to talk about the Wolfsburger game, the West Ham game, and then we'll talk about if we're Jose in, Jose out. So stick around to see our thoughts on that one. So if we start with the West Ham game, Ben, what were your thoughts?
Um, Obviously we lost. We didn't get 3 points, but I think it was a lot better, especially in the second half. We were very sort of attacking. We had 20 shots, compared to West Ham 4, and we had 70% possession, which is a lot unlike us this season. So I think obviously the result wasn't great, but I think what we can take off of it was that it was a good performance.
See, I'm slightly differently. I slightly view this game a bit differently. I think the reason we were 70% possession and the reason we were playing so attacking is because when we went to 2-0 down, we kind of had to. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
West Ham beat us at our own game. I think they sat back, they
Oh,
defended.
definitely they did, 100%.
So I was, yeah, there was some positives. There was Bale, being a god. The
Gareth
possession,
Bale.
the fact that we could get so many shots off, and the fact that we could, play possession based when we needed to. We just didn't have the finishing touch, but on another day, we would have done better. I think.
Yeah. I want to talk about Garth Bale for a minute because he was our shining light that match. He was absolutely incredible. He got the ball every time he got the ball. It was like it was 2012 all over again. It was like it was magic every time he got the ball, and I think that's fantastic, obviously for him, but fantastic for us that we're sort of now reliant on a player like Gareth Bale, and that we can play that sort of front three of Son, Kane, and Bale. Because I think now that's just going to be unstoppable. I hope it's unstoppable, but I mean, with the form that Son and Kane are in, obviously they've had a bit of a stagnant period, but with the form Bale's in, he's on fire right now. He got a goal last night in the Europa League. He got an assist obviously against West Ham. So, sky's the limit for Gareth Bale. Even though it's 31, I know, but like, I
Yeah,
think
I think it makes us less reliant on the likes of Son and Kane to
exactly.
do everything.
But I think the real question is, obviously he's on astronomical wages. He's the highest paid player in the Premier League by nearly £300,000 a week. So, would you loan him again?
Bale.
Yeah.
We're only paying like what 40% or something, aren't we?
I think we're paying 220,000, and then Real Madrid are paying the other 380,000.
See, the issue with this one is I think we're not going to be able to pay that much. I think Real Madrid will ask for a bit more, but they don't have the power here. We have all the power because Bale,
I don't
he
think
lives
Real
here.
Madrid will, because they are so desperate to get him off their books, or to get even a bit of his wages off their books, that they'll take anything. If Levy said, I'll pay him £1 a week. I mean, obviously not, but like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
so desperate to get him off the wage bill and get him sort of out of the club, that I think that they would sort of allow us to loan him again for the same price, or even maybe a bit lower. Who knows?
Do you think Real Madrid would try sell him to us and stay to Bale? Your wages with Tottenham are your problem and Tottenham's problem. You know, we'll sell you. What do you think would
Um,
happen in that situation?
well, I think what would have to happen is that Bale would take a pay cut um, if he was going to join us permanently. Would he do that? Don't know. Because obviously he loves Spurs and he would do anything to play for Spurs. Like, look at him now. But 600 grand a week is something that you can't really refuse.
Yeah,
I think he would be willing to take a pay cut because he's made so much money from Real Madrid anyway that he doesn't need money anymore. You know, he's obviously set for the rest of his life. He's on £30 million a year, but um, depending on the size of the pay cut, you know, he has to be. He can only be on maximum £200,000 a week because of Harry Kane's contract. I don't know whether you know about this, but there is a clause in Kane's contract in that he has to be the highest paid player at the club.
yeah. I saw that. Yeah,
And he's on 200 grand a week. So if Bale turns up and he's on, say, 350 or 300, Kane's going to be like, oh, hold on a second. Sorry. Oh, hold on
but
a second. I don't feel £5 a week.
I hear he's getting a big contract upgrade soon as well.
I did
Him
hear
and
that,
Sonny,
yeah. Hopefully.
and there's Lloris could be getting one as well. I've heard all those rumors.
Yeah. I
I
don't know
think
that I would give
Lloris.
Lloris a new contract, to be honest.
I think
Maybe.
Lloris. It's mainly just because of how loyal he's been. You kind of you owe him
Yeah, yeah.
a bit more, and what he brings to the dressing room
Yeah.
is also quite good.
I think keep him until he gets a testimonial and then, you know, sort of slowly move him on. He said he'd like to go to the MLS, so maybe he goes to into Miami. Um, you know, I don't know. Maybe he will, but
Yeah,
because I think, you know, he's what, 34 now, 35.
something like that. Yeah,
And then obviously the news of Dean Henderson being linked to us. That's quite positive because, you know, Dean Henderson was incredible at Sheffield and obviously he's still a great goalkeeper. But yeah, whether I would get rid of Hugo for Dean Henderson is another story because obviously he's been so reliable. But it's just a matter of age, to be honest.
yeah. I think as he grows older, he'll get a lot of. Will he be able to play every 3 days? So you'd have to move him on somehow.
Yeah, he's starting to show a sort of decrease in form, I guess you could say, because like he hasn't been unbelievable the last few weeks. He's not the sort of Hugo Lloris that we've been used to for the past sort of 9 years. So yeah, I think obviously it'd be sad to move him on because he's been so loyal to the club and he's been here for such a long time. But you know, if he's 36, 37 and he's not going to be able to start every game, then we don't really have an option.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's earning 5.2 million euro. So not it's for someone who, if we're moving him on, I'd say the if you offer him a new contract, I don't think it would be one of those big 5 6 year contracts. Put it
Oh,
that way.
definitely not.
Um, then if I'll ask you this, so if you look at our team and what we have left in our attack, let's say that we the Spurs. Let's say we're the Spurs board, and we have to look at where we need to upgrade. And you look at our depth in attack. We've got Kane, Son, Bale. Then in Cam, do you start Dele Alli or Giovanni Lo Celso?
Ooh. Hmm.
Because let's be real, both of them want to play week in week out,
Yeah.
and there's one spot.
I don't know actually.
The issue is that Giovanni Lo Celso isn't as defensively inclined as maybe in Ndombele.
Yeah,
And
so you can't really play him as a DM.
yeah,
I mean,
see,
I
I
think
think
our only real option is to rotate the two of them because you can't play one and then not play the other, because they're two good player. They're two sort of world class players, I guess you could say. Well, maybe not Dele Alli recently, and maybe not Lo Celso, but they're two top quality players that can really make a difference in the game. We saw against City the first time against at home we won 2-0, and within 30 seconds, Lo Celso scored. So he can sort of make that difference. But obviously, Dele Alli last night, like, oh my god, I was blown away by his performance. I know it's against Wolfsberger, and I know they're a bunch of farmers, but
Yeah, he's running rings around them.
yeah, it was almost unfair, to be honest.
Yeah, it was like you're he was playing against Wolfsburger like Messi plays against other teams, like other
Yeah,
smaller La Liga teams. He was almost saying to them, I'm too good for you. Take a step
yeah.
back.
We're not comparing Dele Alli to Messi, but
No, no, no. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
And so if you have, would you ever play the Celso and or Dele Alli? Maybe in that Bale spot because of maybe Bale's age. He probably won't play
He's
week in week
probably
out.
he's probably not able to play week in week out. Yeah, I mean, if we play a 4-2-3-1, we could play Son, Ali in the sort of central role, then Lo Celso out on the right, and then Kane up top because Lo Celso's left-footed, so he can cut in on his left when he's on the right-hand side.
And then see the depth that we have in attack with Lucas Moura, Lamela, Bergwijn, and the youngsters, and the fact that they want Dane Scarlett to, be part of the first team next year.
Go.
Who do you sell then? Who do you let go of any players? Because there will be a lot of unhappy people then.
I think I would. I'd probably let go of Lamela. I just don't see him being good anymore. I mean, I want to say Lucas Moura because, but I mean, I don't think we should sell Lucas Moura. Obviously, he's a club legend for what he did in Amsterdam, but you know, is he really going to help us throughout the season? Maybe. I don't know. It just
I think
depends.
we have a lot of those kind of players that are probably not going to start Premier League week in week out, but they'll start the odd game. They'll start the cup games. You're kind of Lucas Moura-esque players. You
Yeah,
know.
I think that's what Lucas Moura is good for. He's good for rotation and stuff. But then we've got Bergwijn as well, who is quite a lot younger than Lucas Moura. So it's tough to say. And then obviously Dane Scarlett's coming up. I think he's too young to play in the Premier League, to be honest.
No, no, he'll be a half under 23s, half.
Yeah, exactly. He's still 16 years of age. Like, it's crazy. Um, but
Yeah,
we're almost in a situation where we have too many options, but those options aren't exactly great. So I think Bergwijn's been great this season. Obviously, he hasn't scored. I think Lucas Moura's been out of this world, and Lamela just gets a yellow card. So,
Lamela gets his daily yellow card,
oh yeah,
and does the odd thing.
I'd say Jose runs around in training with a yellow card and just gives it to Lamela anyway.
Yeah,
Lamela will probably just walk on the pitch and get a yellow card. Like, so
he's
that's really
like,
costly because he's just uncontrollable. He just kicks everyone.
I think what I would say is I would take out one of those midfielders. I would take out probably Sissoko, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Sissoko should leave, to be honest.
I'd
I'm not really a fan of him,
probably
to be honest.
I'd probably leave Harry Winks in there.
Ooh,
And the reason I'm saying that is because he's shown times where he can be good. So I'd give him a season. I'd say, prove to me why you're good. And his contract runs out in 2024. So I'd say it was 2021. So I'd say 2022 summer or January even. I'd say you have until then to prove why you should be in the team. And that's what I'd do. And then
I
I'd
agree.
probably take out one of the right wingers. Um, Whether Bale shows up in the Prem this season and shows his quality, obviously it wouldn't be him then, but it'd probably be Lamela, and I think keep Lucas Moura in there for rotation.
Yeah, and then Bale's not exactly a spring chicken. He's 31, probably nearly 32 now. So as a winger, he's sort of coming towards the end of his career. So, who would you replace Garth Bale with if you had the option to?
Um, See, the issue is Gareth Bale's not going to bring in the money if you sell him. You know, he's going to
Yeah.
be there.
However, he's going to save the club a lot of money through his wages.
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying replacing him?
Once he gets to a stage where he sort of can't really play week in, week out anymore. So probably in the next 2 to 3 years, because he's such an athletic winger and that he's just going to get the legs chopped off him in the Premier League because it's the Premier League.
I would probably. I know a lot of people don't like Bergwijn because he hasn't been good that much, but I still think he has quality, and I still think if he can improve, um, I'm not the biggest fan of Bergwijn, but I think he still has. I still think he can get to the stage where he's 24 and hits like solid, Giovanni Lo Celso prime type,
Yeah. I agree in some sense. I think we should, if Bale does leave, I think maybe give Bergwijn a chance. But if he doesn't prove himself, get on the phone with Leeds and say I want Rafinha, because I've said it before on this podcast. I love Rafinha. I think he's just outstanding. Um, he's just so elegant when he's on the ball, and then him and Dombele. Oh, that'd be so nice. But and he probably wouldn't be that expensive. I don't really know what Leeds are like in selling players, but I doubt that they'd be reluctant to let him go, because obviously there's other stars in the team that they'd like to keep, like your Bamfords, your Phillips, etc. But I would love to see Rafinha in a Spurs shirt.
So I was looking at Jude Bellingham and other young players like that, and like all those
Sancho.
players who are young, not the Sanchos, maybe just a step down from them, who have good potential, would come in at about 30, 40 million, but have good potential. And I was thinking, if you work out, let's say you get two of them for 40 million,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's 80 million. One of them becomes your average, not really a starter, but he becomes your all right. Put it this way, Harry Winks type player,
Yeah, your rotation option in the cup games of the Europa League. If we
Yeah,
make the Europa League.
maybe 20 mil or something.
Yeah.
But you've won, then that becomes a superstar. Your son, your Harry Kane, that kind of player.
Yeah.
You would easily still make a profit on that, and we know Levy's all about the profit. Would that not make sense? Financially, as well as getting the club to grow, and someone probably who's maybe a bit older than, yeah, similar age to Dane Scarlett, Jack Clark, the younger guys like Ryan Sessegnon and them.
Yeah. The problem with that is when you start playing a player, and we've seen this before. I think a prime example is Wayne Rooney, where you play him regularly from when he's sort of 17, 18, and he burns out by the time he's 30. Now, obviously, you get 10 years out of him, and obviously Rooney was a great player. But the fact that he's younger than Ronaldo and he's now managing Derby, while Ronaldo's top scorer in Serie A, kind of shows. Obviously, Ronaldo's a superhuman, he's a god. But the problem with those players is they will most likely burn out unless they're, super athletes and they're on another level. Um, so that's why I'd rather go for someone who's around 21 or 22, where they're near enough to their physical prime that they can play out for a sort of extended period of time.
But let's say you get one of those 17-year-olds and you manage him in a way that, like, the way Carlos Vinicius, the way he's playing, he plays cup games, he plays,
Oh yeah, well then in that case definitely. But
if you get someone to play in that kind of way, I think there's
yeah, definitely. But about a question of starting, who do you start? If we don't have Bale, that is.
It's a good question. Yeah, let's say if we're looking at 2 years down the line, Bergwijn's not proved himself. Um, you're probably looking at a new signing then. You're probably looking at
Yeah.
someone. Is there any from maybe Jack Clark to come in?
Depends.
How depending on how good he is, I haven't seen too much of him. And yeah, if we're looking at Oliver Skip then, and how he is really becoming a key player in Norwich, and when he comes back and he's going to be part of this Tottenham squad, and he is really good. Who do you play for, and who do you take out of this team?
It's a good question. You can't really take out Højbjerg. You can't take out Ndombele. You can't really take out anyone for him. I mean, I guess sell Sissoko, and then replace Sissoko for Skip, and then play Skip in like less important games. As use Skip as a sort of rotation for Højbjerg if he gets a knock, or if he just needs a rest. Until Højbjerg sort of ages out. I know Højbjerg's only 25, but Skip's only 20. So, by the time Højbjerg hits 30, where he's not really at his best anymore, Skip's going to be in his prime.
Do you think? Would you play maybe a 4? Yeah, 4-2-3-1 or 4-2-2 with Son and Kane up front. Dele Alli and Giovanni Lo Celso, or Dele Alli and Ndombele, or Lo Celso and Ndombele, and then your two CDMs as like Højbjerg and Skip.
Yeah, I probably would do that actually. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I'd probably do that.
See, if you do the 4-2-3-1, you need someone on the right side, like Lo Celso, or you play Son on the left, or you play Son on the right. See, there's some questions there. They're good questions to be asking, to be fair, and good questions to have.
It's definitely, obviously it's a problem that we have. It's not really a problem, but it's a great problem that we have so many options. I guess we're in a similar situation to Chelsea. They have a huge squad.
They have a mad. Have you seen their loan system?
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago they had 41 players out on loan. They have about 25, 26 maybe. So
that's incredible.
We have like 3.
Yeah.
I think the Premier League average is like around 7.
They're probably bringing up that average.
Yeah, I think they are, because I'd say without them, the average is about 3. So, yeah.
I think the benefit that has, if you have like a loan system where you're not paying wages, but if they do well, you can just tell them, yeah, come back on. And if they're not doing so well, you can be like, sure, go out on loan. Doesn't cost us much. The odd admin cost, Well, yeah, so...
It's a great problem to have a massive squad.
Yeah. If we look at then the Wolfsburger game, it was a very simple game. It was a game we all knew we were going to win, if not the game entirely, but on aggregate. No Son, Kane, and it showed that without them we're still good enough. And that was what was really good about the game.
Yeah, it was good to see our sort of backup options, I suppose you could say, play a game and play so well. Obviously, Wolfsburger aren't exactly like the greatest opponents. They're a mid-table Austrian side. Then again, we're a mid-table Premier League side. But yeah, it was good to see our players back to their best, particularly Dele Alli, and of course Garth Bale. So it was great to see them come back. Obviously, Dele Alli scored absolute madness.
Yeah, that was incredible for the first goal.
Got 2 assists as well.
The one with the Carlos Vinicius header, that was a nice cross ball. I think the one thing that one of the BT commentators was saying, he was like, the one thing that Mourinho doesn't like with his creative players is putting the ball into risk too many times. because it's a very good way to lose the ball, but it's also a very good way to get into a great position.
Yeah.
And I think Mourinho's kind of learnt that over these last few months that, yeah, maybe if we have, yeah, we play defensive, but if we have someone who puts the ball into risk the odd time, not a bad thing. He had the same problem with Pogba.
Yeah,
You know?
that's very true. I think we've got the players to bring the ball into those sort of risky areas through a long pass, and then, as well as that, if we don't want to play a long pass, just give it to Ndombele.
Yeah, let him run.
You could put 5 players on him, and he'll still come out. He'll probably roll on the floor, and still land on his feet because the center of gravity is like on the NFL pitch in our stadium. It's that low down. But yeah, we've so many options to get to work through teams, and yeah, I think it's definitely a good thing to have, because if you sort of rotate the options of playing forward, you can long ball it, then dribble through. That'll make teams sort of get really confused, and that will the defenders will have absolutely no idea what's going on, because they can't really predict what's going on. So
yeah, one of the things. Yeah, go on.
It's yeah, it's a good situation to have tactically as well, because obviously a team won't know what's coming essentially, and that'll give us an opportunity to score.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to go on to. What City have.
Yeah, exactly.
City have so much, so much competition in the squad that you don't know who's playing the next week. Like, you really only have 2 or 3 players who will play like week after week.
Yeah.
And that's De Bruyne and the other 2 players on form from the last week. That's
exactly.
really it.
That's why I never put City attackers in my fantasy team, because it's like, oh yeah, I'll put Mahrez in, he was great. Oh, he's not playing. Oh.
Yeah, like, he could score a hat-trick one week.
So many options, Mahrez, Sterling, Aguero, Jesus, Foden, Torres, I was about to say Salah there, De Bruyne, Gundogan's on mad form. They can all play in attacking roles, and I've probably forgotten someone as well. So, they have so many options, and that's why they're going to win the league.
The one thing I want to ask about football in general, do you think Gundogan's form will drop off now that Kevin De Bruyne is back?
No. I think it'll get even better. I think Gundogan, he's sort of been lacking a good passer when he's on form to sort of get him the ball. And obviously he's been a bit lucky with his chances, but now he's got the best passer in world football. So I think, in my opinion, he'll just keep going, keep scoring.
Because you know what I'm thinking?
Yeah.
I'm thinking he was that replacement for Kevin De Bruyne, the guy making those runs where he was pretty much doing what Kevin De Bruyne was doing. What I'm thinking is, now that Kevin De Bruyne is back, will that he'll go back to his more box-to-box type role and let Kevin De Bruyne handle most of the attacking things?
I don't think Guardiola's gonna do that. He's so clever in that. He'll just say to himself, okay, so I've got an informed Gundogan who's on fire in terms of scoring goals, but then I've got one of the best attacking midfielders in the world. But he'll figure out a way to play them both, because he can. He's just that level of manager that he'll be able to do that.
Yeah. So if we get back to Tottenham then.
Yeah, enough of harping on about City.
So if we go into Jose in versus Jose out, what are your thoughts?
Okay. I'm Jose in for now, but if you don't win a trophy or get European football at the end of the season, then get him out and call Julian Nagelsmann.
I've heard Julian Nagelsmann is someone who's very keen on making 2 moves in his career. 33 years old. He wants a big money move to the Premier League, and he also wants to manage Bayern Munich.
So obviously we can give him a big money move to the Premier League, but I think what Levy will do if he's trying to convince him to join is that he'll say, "Listen, you're only 33, and you're the best. You're probably the best manager in Germany. How many opportunities are you going to get to manage Bayern in your life? Probably 25, 30. Because every time they sack a manager, they're just going to call you. Whereas a move to the Premier League, with the strength of managers that are in the Premier League, there's not going to be that many options to come to the Premier League. You know, City aren't going to sack Guardiola. United aren't going to sack Solskjaer anytime soon. You know, Liverpool aren't going to sack Klopp. Whereas we're probably one of the only teams in the Premier League who are looking sort of, I say, likely to sack our manager. And obviously we're
Yeah.
a top 6 Premier League side, so he's not going to go and manage Burnley, is he?
Yeah, he's not going to manage Arsenal, Burnley. The thing is, those kind of lower teams, um, he will very easily get a move to, but he probably won't want. They'll also not be able to offer him the money that RB Leipzig is offering, or the fact that RB Leipzig offer him Champions League football. But the one thing we offer him is week in, week out, like, you know, solid, hard, tactical football.
Exactly. You know, people have said, oh, why would he leave RB Leipzig? He'll just get Champions League. Well, would you rather manage at RB Leipzig and sort of just be known as an RB Leipzig manager for the rest of your life? Or would you rather manage in the Premier League, the biggest league in the world, the most watched league in the world, and have the potential to become the best manager on the planet? Which I think he can be. Obviously, he's only 33. But I think he can make a huge difference to our squad because he just plays. He's very similar to Poch in that he plays very attacking football, and obviously he tore us apart in the Champions League last season.
Yeah.
And obviously his nickname is the next Mourinho. Not for his tactics, but for his sort of, his personality. He's very sort of, animated on the touchline, but he can be sort of calm as well. And also, there's no language barrier because he's fluent in English.
And the one thing that was interesting when I looked at Liverpool about 5 years ago, they're in a very similar situation to where we were. We
Exactly,
were, they were eighth or something. They finished
Yeah.
eighth as well, and they brought in Jurgen Klopp. And what had he done? He'd been to Mainz. He'd been to Borussia Dortmund. Done well at both those clubs. Came to Liverpool, and at the time, people were like, "Why would he come to Liverpool when he's managing Borussia Dortmund, getting Champions League football?" Comes to Liverpool, wins the Premier League, and now he's in conversations when you're talking about the best manager of all time. He's in that conversation.
I feel like Klopp, the situation that Klopp's in or was in, is nearly identical to Nagelsmann. He started off as a sort of youth player. I know Klopp played football, and I know Nagelsmann retired at 19 because of an injury. But they started managing quite young. They started managing at a sort of smaller Bundesliga side. Then they moved to a bigger one, Leipzig, and then Dortmund for Klopp. And then Klopp moves to the Premier League, to a sort of declining Premier League side, which has a great history. And Nagelsmann is potentially on the move to a declining Premier League side with a great history. So, it's almost like a mirror.
Yeah. And I think one thing that will be, that Levy will be able to say to him is, look, we have a good young squad. We have the ability to, in the next 2 years, if he says, I'll back you, and, there's good chance of winning the Premier League because of the youth. And then if he says, look, 6 years down the line, 7 years down the line, you'll get your call from Bayern Munich because Hansi Flick's just gone and, put them in a relegation spot. And then you off you go, The one thing, though, about Mourinho, right, is the reason I think he's such a short-term manager is because when you look at how he kind of interacts with fans, how he interacts with people in the club, you think of him maybe this is because we just had Poch or something, but you don't really think of him as someone who's part of your club. You think of him as someone working for your club.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I think he is a short term manager because his main purpose in management is he comes in, um, he builds the team that he wants, he wins you trophies, and then he doesn't care anymore because he's sort of lost interest with it. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't lose interest, but um, he's won a trophy in every club that he's been at, um, and you know, is he gonna win a trophy this year? Don't know. It's looking less and less likely by the day, but um, except the Europa League, obviously, I'd say we have a good chance, but I think it could be time to sort of move on from him. He's given the players obviously great experience. He talks to the players in a way that inspires them because he's not afraid of saying anything, um, rude to his players. He just wants to win, and those players sort of adapt to his sort of winning mentality, and they take that to into the dressing room if Nagelsmann is there, um, and they sort of become stronger now that they're stronger tactically with Nagelsmann, and they're stronger mentally with the advice from Mourinho.
I think one thing though that is worrying is when you look at Jose Mourinho's relationship with Harry Kane, and if I was Levy, I'd go to Harry Kane first, and I'd say, "What do you feel like if I took Jose out of his job and put in Nagelsmann?" Because you have to look at where Mbappe is. Mbappe is at PSG, managed by Pochettino. Mbappe is looking increasingly likely like he's gonna leave to one of the two Spanish giants, and it looks more and more likely that's gonna happen. And we know the relationship that Kane has with Pochettino. So if Nagelsmann comes in and maybe Kane doesn't enjoy it as much, or Kane's not on board with the plan, what happened? You don't. I think if I was Levy, I'd talk to Kane and Son and some of your big players on what they feel the situation is.
Yeah, I think he will do that anyway. But you know, would Kane not like this system? I don't think so. I think he would. I think he loves this system. It's nearly identical to Pochettino's in that we attack, attack, attack. Everyone's just looking to give him the ball. Whereas with Mourinho, it's just sort of hoof the ball up and it might go to Kane. And then Kane gets it and he tries to turn, but there's no one there because they're all in our own 6 yard box. So now, our fullbacks are at the corner flag of the other end. That sort of high up, that sort of intensity of um, and sort of willingness to attack.
Yeah,
I think those sort of players would love that system because it's very similar to one that they were under with Poch, and they love that system.
that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, I didn't really think of the system as well. But so if we're talking Jose in or Jose out, I'd be Jose in if Harry Kane's is saying that I would leave if Julian Nagelsmann came in. Harry Kane's son, if they said if Julian Nagelsmann comes in, I'm gone. Then I'd be
Yeah, yeah,
keep Jose.
yeah,
If they're still undecided, it's a risk. You have to look at
yeah.
results
But
in the
Levy would
next
sort
coming
of,
days.
if he's talking to Kane and he says, "Look, I'm thinking of sacking Mourinho. How would you feel about that?" And Kane says, "I don't know. I'm kind of undecided." Levy would just go, "Well, it's either you stay undecided and our team form continues to slip, or you make your decision and I make my decision based on that," which could sort of lessen the risk. Obviously, Kane will have to think about it, but like I don't think he would reject the prospect of Nagelsmann coming in.
And I think one thing with Kane is that he kind of knows that he's 28. If I'm right, he's
27, I think.
27.
Yeah.
Gonna be 28 in July. He knows he's gonna get a big contract. The time it would take for him maybe to adapt. Let's be real, Levy's not gonna sell him to another Premier League club, and I think he knows that himself.
Yeah, obviously.
The time that it would take for him to adapt maybe to a different country, to move his kids there. You know, you have to. At the end of the day, these are like real people. They have to look at their family's well
Career
being.
decisions aren't based on clubs. They're based
Yeah.
on sort of their lives and their family's livelihood. If he's got 3 young kids and if he just moves them to say Spain, they'd have to learn Spanish pretty quickly. It's unlikely to happen because I think his oldest one is 4. Like, that's not happening. Like, so
Yeah, and like
family.
here's the thing, and the other thing is he'll know that he'll move to Spain. 4 or 5 years time, he'll have to come back.
Yeah, because
So
his entire family is English. So
yeah,
he'd have to come back to England. So is there any point? He could just stay at Spurs. He might not win anything significant. He might not win a Champions League. He might not win a Premier League. Keyword might. But
he'd still remain a legend. There's a higher chance of him becoming a legend at Spurs than him spending his prime adapting to a different country.
In all likelihood, I think it's fairly agreeable to say that if he stays at Tottenham for the rest of his career, he will break Alan Shearer's scoring record in the Premier League. I think that's almost a given because he's 27. He's spent 6 years in the league.
Yeah.
And he's only sort of hitting his prime now. Obviously he's been injured, but the fact that he's been injured makes his feat even more incredible. I think he's 10th in the all-time Premier League scoring list, and he's played a lot less games than everyone else above him and below him. So I think if he was to stay, he'd definitely break Shearer's record, and I think that would sort of stay with him as his main achievement in his career, because that is something that for your name to be above the people like Shearer, Henry, Aguero, the greatest players to play in the league, to see your name on top of that list is better than sort of winning a Champions League, because you're remembered in Premier League history.
Yeah, I mean, he's 94. He's 104 goals away from breaking that record. That's maybe 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah. Like,
let's say what.
That is ridiculous. The fact that he's so close to Shearer, and he's scored 7 seasons. He's 7 seasons consecutively scoring 20 goals. At least 20 goals, obviously, but 5 more of them when he's in his prime. That's when he's 32. Easy.
Yeah. That a very very like the fact that the
32 and he still plays. Obviously, he hasn't played regularly this season because of injury, but he's still a world class striker, and Kane is a world class striker.
Yeah, a striker, especially in a system. If he's playing an attacking system, there will be more goals. Probably a little less, maybe like less movement than constant counter-attacking play, because the movement would be maybe 15 yards across the box instead of 80-yard sprints.
Yeah, he wouldn't have to come back as often. He could probably just stay up. Or in line with the back line.
Yeah. So, we're 9th in the table. Okay. We have Burnley, Fulham, Crystal Palace. Those are the next 3 games. Okay. And my final question to you for the day is: if we lose every single one of those games, what would you do? Would you sack him after the first game, second game, third game, or would you not sack him at all?
Well, if we lose those 3 games, and so that's 9 points dropped in 3 games. Obviously, that's relegation form against relegation teams. No offense, but they are.
Yeah, yeah, no.
I don't really see a comeback for that. You know,
We
he'll say in the press, "Oh, it is my player's fault. It is not mine." But like, is it the player's fault? They came like third, second, and third in 3 seasons, and now they're ninth, and it's the same group of players. So, is it the
the
player's fault?
the same group of players hitting their prime.
Exactly. You know, we had a young squad and became second. Now we have a prime squad and we're coming ninth. Is it the player's fault? No. So I say if we lose to Palace, what's the game after Palace?
Arsenal.
Okay, that changes a lot.
And then Villa after them.
Oh god, just gets worse. I think if he loses to Arsenal, that's enough. Arsenal are like Jesus. Who loses to Arsenal? Like honestly,
Yeah.
no one loses
Like
to Arsenal. What just leads to Arsenal now? But
yeah.
like losing to Arsenal is like I'd rather lose like a Champions League final than lose to Arsenal right now. Like,
Yeah.
like that's just terrible. That's really bad if we lose to Arsenal. So I think if he doesn't beat Arsenal, then just show him the door.
For me, because I'm very on the edge, I'd probably say if we lose to Burnley, it would be based on performance. How well did the team? Should they have got the point? Should they have got 3 points? And if there's clear evidence of like XG and other stuff, if there's clear evidence that we should have won the game, I'd keep it until Fulham. If there's clear evidence, if we deservedly lost to Burnley, for me that's it. If we should have won, deserved to win against Burnley, and come back against Fulham, I'd be fine. If we lost to Fulham, then even deservedly, yeah, I am very close to get him out the door.
See, the problem with that is the Europa League. We want to win the Europa League. We haven't won a trophy in 13 years, and you know, I think I've conceded the League Cup final at this stage. Like, yeah, we're not beating City right now, but we have a very, very strong chance of winning the Europa League because we can beat every side in it, except for Leicester, but they'll get tired. So that's what I'm thinking. Mourinho is almost the king of the Europa League. He's been in it twice. He's won it twice. Whereas now he's in it third time, and he's probably got his strongest squad that he's ever had in the Europa League. And he's playing teams that aren't really on the level that he did play in the Europa League. So that's my issue. But it honestly depends on our draw for the Europa League. I don't know when that is. I don't know whether it's tonight or
It's on Friday.
Friday. Okay. Yeah, it just depends on our draw. If we get if we get an easier team, then I'd say sort of just base it on the Premier League form. Whereas if we get a harder team, I reckon keep him because he knows the squad and he'd be better than an interim coach because Nagelsmann's not going to leave mid-season at Leipzig. And neither is like Brendan Rodgers. I think it's the second choice. So I think, yeah, it depends on our draw because if we have an easier draw, you don't really need to know the squad if you're playing a bunch of like farmers,
Yeah.
No offense to the Europa League, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's not going to be between Juventus and Atletico. It's going to be between like, you know, lower grade teams.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if it is a sort of lower grade team in terms of the Europa League, obviously, then I reckon just sack him and get an interim boss in until the end of the season, and then wait until Nagelsmann's sort of ready to join.
Yeah, I think the thing is though, like, who would we really be able to? Who would be the interim manager?
Um,
Would it be someone from inside the club?
Probably. I mean, if I was the board, I know it's risky, but you know, give Ledley King a go. I mean, he's a
That's
club
interesting.
legend,
Yeah.
and he's first team coach already. So he's sort of like third in line. I don't want to say third in line to the throne because it's not a royal family, but you know what I mean. Like first, it goes manager, assistant manager, first team coach. That's the way it sort of goes. And I reckon if Mourinho leaves, all the Portuguese guys will probably go as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. What about Ryan Mason?
Yeah. Um, does he have experience in management though? That's the problem.
Um, I believe he did some work at Hull City, but it's mostly just academy stuff he's done.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I probably wouldn't go for Ryan Mason because obviously he played for Spurs, but just because of his inexperience and sort of coaching and management. Obviously, Ledley King's never managed a team, but like he
He
will
knows the
manage.
players probably
Yeah,
better.
exactly. He knows the players. So yeah, I probably wouldn't go for Ryan Mason if it was me personally. But I mean, obviously other people can differ from it.
Lovely stuff. I think if we don't have any final thoughts, I think we'll leave it right there. Thank you for listening, and have a good day, morning, night, whatever. Bye.
Thank you.